I'm Robert Cosi, publisher of Canadian Contractor. This is Gary Mine. He is the architectural technologist for Nudura, and we are going to continue answering questions that you gave us regarding building with ICF.
Yep.
Now, today we're going to talk about two things pretty critical. One is inspections, the inspection protocol for ICF building, and also, finally, we're going to talk about costs. But what about the inspection protocol? What are the rules about inspection for ICF pours and builds?
For the inspections, first thing is you'll want, if we're talking about your first job,
Yep.
So you're going to want one of our distributors to check your site before you're ready to pour, to make sure that you've put strapping in the right locations, you've bucked your windows properly, and go through our whole pre-pour checklist with you so that you start to learn what we're looking at, so you know on your next job areas you need to focus on before you pour. And then you have the building department. Your building department may want to come out and check to make sure you put the reinforcing in as your architect drew it. Mm-hmm. So they'll want to have a look in the wall before you pour it to make sure that you put that 10M bar in the right spot.
Now, I understand the inspection currently is not mandatory. The building inspection is not mandatory. Is that correct?
That depends on the municipality you're in, but that is something that is in the process in the code changes and will become mandatory. So I think it's a worthwhile step to make that phone call to your building inspector and say, I'm going to be pouring on Friday.
Okay.
I would like you to come out and do an inspection before, and it saves a world of problems in the end.
All right, the other thing you can do is take pictures, I guess, of your installation. If the guy wants to see post-pour what you did inside there, at least you have the pictures.
That might be all they require.
Yeah. Okay. Now, do all building inspectors understand ICF building now? Like how did they get to understand how ICF works?
Well, the training course that we talked about you coming to, we also encourage and offer it to building inspectors, building officials to come sit through that training course as well so that we can work to train them so they're more informed when they come to your site.
Tell me how I can dive into this build process and protect myself from the risks of runaway costs, problems like that.
That's where you're going to want to rely on the experience of our distributors. So when you're talking with them, they'll sit down with you and go over your plans and can help develop your costs for that build. So they can give you a quote, suggest this may take this long, and help work with you and your building style. The cost changes a lot depending on the complexity of your building.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So now, use our experience to help nail that down.
There's internal costs that I have in my company in making the change that you wouldn't be able to understand. I don't know which guy is going to be the best guy to run these ICF installations. I don't know where I'm going to store the stuff if I've got to store it before the build. So what do you think would be the best way for me to sort of enter into the process without looking at a super high risk situation?
Maybe you start with a smaller project. Maybe you just do a basement to start so that you have less scope of building to worry about. So you start small and then work your way as you get more comfortable, then you can start going up.
So are you saying that I can do a basement pour in ICF and then the rest can be just traditional stick built?
Yeah, absolutely. You can transition at that floor connection and then build with your wood frame or insulated panels or whatever you want to do above grade.
See, I love that idea because really that saves me a lot of heartache potentially if I've already planned to do an entire house. And there are any mistakes at all, they're going to compound through the house. But if I'm doing a basement, then it kind of reduces the risk, and then I can do 3 or 4 and figure it out and learn internally how I'm going to manage it. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, you can get your experience on these basements, and then as you're more comfortable, then you find the right job and you make the next step, and then you find out the advantage to going to the roof.
Yeah, and then I can run my numbers with the basement installation. I can run my numbers through 3 or 4 basements and realize what my real costs are going to be, not the costs that I'm getting, sort of pulling out of the air or hearing from some guy down the street who did an ICF build. I know my own costs and then be able to build from there and understand what the rest of the house will be.
That's a very good way to go ahead. It sounds like a safe way to learn how you're going to quote these jobs.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate that. A lot of great answers to some really tough questions. If you have any more questions regarding building an ICF, please send your question to the email that's on the screen below, and Nudura would be happy to come back to you with all the answers you need in order to become the ICF builder in your area.